serve in the shadows, we carry the weight with stories that matter. Don't let them wait. Every story matters, from bases to war zones, from tearful reunions to cold nights alone. Spouses and veterans, hearts that won't quit, telling the truth about all of it.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. It is just another day in the life as a military wife, and I feel blessed to be able to be a part of preserving veterans' voices and helping them record their stories of their military service. And that is what this episode is about today. I had the blessing of being able to interview Lon Que Adams, a Korean War veteran who is one of 10 boys, 9 of whom served in the United States military services from World War II through Vietnam. And I am just can't wait for you to hear about what he went through and why he decided to serve our country. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. Would you like to introduce yourself? Say your name, where you're from, what branch of service you were in?
My name is Lon Que Adams. I was born and raised in Orem, Utah. I had a family of 10 of us. All of my older brothers and my one younger brother all enlisted in the military, covering World War II and Korea and Vietnam. And so it just kind of, all of my brothers dropped out of high school and enlisted when they were 7 and 18, depending on whether they needed permission or not. And I just followed in their footsteps and was more anxious to drop out of high school and go do something that was a little more exciting.
That's understandable.
And Korean War was on. I had 3 brothers that were involved. Two of them World War II veterans, and one, my brother, just older than me. And I was just wanted to do something. It wasn't so much, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It wasn't so much patriotism. I had patriotism, but it was more, it was something I wanted to do, wanted the experience of the military. And it was a time of conflict that made it a little more interesting and exciting. And I wanted to join my brothers.
So, in the group of brothers, what number were you?
I was the 8th.
Okay. So you're number 8 of 10, you said?
Yeah.
When you joined, what branch did you join?
I joined the Army.
Okay. And did you join in Utah?
I was in Idaho. I enlisted in the state of Idaho.
In the state of Idaho. Do you remember what city you enlisted in?
Blackfoot, Idaho.
Okay. And then once you enlisted, where did you go for your basic training?
Of course, I had to report into Fort Douglas and Salt Lake. That was where I was, went through the formality of being formal. From there, I went to California for my basic.
And what job?
What job?
Yeah, what job were you trained to do?
Basic training. I was a rifleman.
Rifleman. Well, yeah, it was basic training.
Basic training. While there, after completing basic training, we had choices of some places we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first places I thought about was jump school. I thought that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But then I signed up for a leadership course.
Okay.
And I got through most of that, and then I flunked out, and they washed me out, and then I shipped overseas.
And did you have any notable experiences during your leadership course training or basic training that you'd like to share?
Well, it was I liked the leadership position. When it come to instructing and teaching lessons, I could do close order drill. I could do exercises, all of those physical functions. But I was only 17 years old. I just wasn't very skilled in being able to instruct and teach.
Yeah. So your leadership, you were still learning.
Yeah,
That makes sense. So when you left training and they shipped you overseas, where did you get sent to?
I got sent to uh, Sendai, Japan, 24th Infantry Division. I was in division headquarters company, and that's where I spent about 3 months.
Okay. What were your responsibilities while you were there?
The responsibility was standing at the headquarters door, uh, stainless steel helmet and a blue scarf on your head, and saluting all of the officers that come and went.
So you were standing guard basically.
That was basic guard, I guess.
Okay. Hey, it's got to be done. There's lots of people who've done that in the military. From there, after those 3 months, what did you do next?
Well, I didn't. If I'd have stayed there, I'd have been there for my remaining 2 years of my enlistment. That was just one. I just did not like uh, close order, nothing but close order drill and saluting officers. I wanted something out of my military experience.
I understand.
My oldest brother at the time was serving in Korea, and so I put in a request for transfer to go to Korea.
And so when you put in for when did you find out that request had been accepted and you were going to get transferred?
Oh, it was only a matter of a few weeks, I guess, after I put in my request.
And were you excited about that?
Yes, I was.
I can imagine.
Everybody there in my unit thought I was crazy.
You were going from a cushy to a more complicated situation.
Very complicated.
Yes. So where in Korea did you get sent?
My brother let me explain a little more. My brother in Korea didn't want to see me go over there with a rifleman's MOS. He was worried.
I can understand.
He went over with the National Guard unit, 155 artillery unit, and he got a letter from his battalion that they would accept me as a replacement. And so, with that letter in hand, with my papers requesting for transfer, I boarded a ship and took us about a week and a half to get to Korea. And from there, we ended up through several processing centers. And my brother came down, picked me up at the service battery, and took me home to spend my time with and the 145th Field Artillery was in the Utah National Guard unit. By then, he was about the only original member.
Mm-hmm.
He was first sergeant of the headquarters battery.
Oh, wow. So you said you ended up becoming a lineman where you were fixing the.
Well, I went there with a rifleman MOS.
Yeah. So how did you switch over?
So they were looking for a place for me to fit in.
Yeah.
And the ideal place, which was good, was as a field wireman. And they assigned me to a crew, and they trained me on the job training. Later on, I was sent back to a school to get some formal training with it.
Okay. And was this with your brother's unit? You guys were there together then, or?
Well, he didn't have anything. He was first sergeant of the headquarters battery. He didn't.
He was in a different. Okay.
Yeah, the functions were totally different, of course.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. As you're starting to get this training, did you enjoy it? Was it stressful? Did it come naturally?
It was exciting. It wasn't stressful. It wasn't that hard. I learned skills how to troubleshoot uh, communication lines. I have to explain. This is an artillery unit,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a fire direction center that directs the fire of the batteries. We have an OP, observation, on the front that monitors the incoming rounds and directs their fire. They depend upon both radio and line communication for the firing batteries to communicate with the OP through the fire FDC, Fire Direction Center. And our job was to maintain those communication lines. Rain, shine, no matter what time of day, if a line went out, it went out, and you was to repair that line and get that communication up.
So when you went out to repair a line, who went with you? What did those missions look like?
Well, we knew where our lines were laid.
Mm-hmm.
In that area, there were dozens of communication lines going from back uh, from back of us to the lines. Some of them were for infantry, some of them were, but we had to identify our line and all those other lines in it.
Yeah. And did you go with another technician? Did you guys have some riflemen with you?
I went with a crew.
Okay.
You had a line crew, and about 3 to 4 men, and we went out, worked together to troubleshoot the line, get it back in operation.
Okay. And I'm assuming you guys are still having to wear helmets, have guns, all those sorts of things.
We carried our weapon with us. We were in the wore flak uniforms and helmets. It was a full. It was in. We weren't shooting at anybody, but we had incoming rounds coming into our area from time to time. Yeah, and you never knew when you might run into
Someone.
unfriendly somebody you didn't want there.
Yeah. Typically, how long did these take, these missions?
Well, it depended on how where the problem was at. It was probably anywhere from an hour to half a day, probably, depending upon how difficult it was to.
And on the longer ones, did you guys know ahead of time that it was probably going to be longer and you packed supplies and rations, or did you just kind of separate?
We never had to take any ride. We weren't out any longer than the longest would be a day. We were always back into our area.
Okay. Did you have any encounters on these missions with?
No.
Okay. How long did you do this? Did you do this for the most of your remaining
I
time?
did it for the whole time I was there in Korea for 1 year.
And were you in the same location the whole time doing this?
Yes. We moved once. They moved one of our batteries to a different location to support some operation, and I was with the wire crew that we moved. Took us, I don't know, half a day to be able to move. But we followed the firing battery. We got that the new location had to run the communication lines for the fire direction and the firing batteries.
Well, how often did you get to see your brother during this time?
Well, day in, day out, every day.
That must have
If
been.
anybody was going to get called out for any dirty details, I was first in line.
He always made sure.
I knew that my brother, being first sergeant, wasn't going to show me any partiality.
Well, I'm kind of glad because you shouldn't have favorites in the military, and that way everyone knew you were there to work, that you weren't going to be playing favorites. That's good. Were any other of your you said you had other siblings serving at this time. Where were they at?
And my other brother, I had one brother just older than me that went with the National Guard unit, activated. In their time in the United States, he left the 145th Field Artillery and was joined with a unit that was going to Germany, and they were drawing people from our National Guard unit to fill the number of people they needed, and he went with them. So he was in Germany. He was pulled out of our unit, went to Germany with them. That was before of course, they were shipped over to Korea.
Okay. And so
my other brother that was involved, he served in the Navy in World War II. Afterwards, he was in the reserve, and he joined the National Guard unit with my other brothers. And when they were activated, he at the same time got a call through the Naval Reserve that they wanted him to go
back to the
back
Navy.
into active duty in the Navy.
Okay. So which brothers, can you tell me their names? Who was your first sergeant?
Willis he's my oldest brother.
Okay.
And he was World War II veteran. When in civilian life, he joined the National Guard, and it became a full-time job for him because he was over the Provo headquarters battery, and that was his career. And when his enlistment was up, he re-enlisted, and from there he made it his career. He was in the Army.
Okay.
But anyway, that's Willis, my oldest brother. The next one, the one in the Navy, that was Rulon. He was a Seabee in the Navy during the war, and then he was just put on board of a ship don't know what he was doing on a ship. Well, there was another brother who was in the Navy, and he was activated. They found out he had 12 kids. So he was hurt. He didn't.
Yeah.
And my brother, just older than me, he went to Germany.
Okay. What was the name of your brother who was your first sergeant?
Willis.
You mentioned you got a Bronze Star. When did that happen?
Yeah, I got my Bronze Star followed me to the United States. I was with my unit at Fort Carson, and that award came to me while I was there.
But what happened for you to receive that? What was the event that transpired?
The Bronze Star was for meritorious service. It's a very common low-level award. I guess because I was regular Army, I volunteered, and in the year that I was there, I moved up from a private, and you have to, most of the people there are draftees, and as they rotated out home, positions opened up, and I moved up to be a line a chief over one of the linemen. Before I was shipped out home, I became the wire section chief, which gave me the sergeant's rank.
Okay.
It was just my attitude, I guess. I didn't hesitate to volunteer my crew to go out to a line. There was one time we had incoming rounds coming in, and there was we needed to go out and fix our line, and I volunteered my crew to go. I was what they call RA all the way regular. So, and that was an adventure for me.
I find it fascinating that frequently when I interview veterans, they're like, "Oh, it was no big deal." It was a big deal. And it's amazing that you did that. And I'm so grateful for amazing men like you who are willing to volunteer and willing to be like, "Yep, I'll take the hard jobs." Because that's what helps keep our service members and our country safe. So thank you for that. You may not think that was a big deal, but we do. And we're grateful for what you did. And that had to have been hard, knowing that there was shells coming in and you were going to be in a less than ideal situation, but you went to do the job anyway. How did it go?
Well, it went fine. In all the time I was there, we had one field that wasn't in my crew. They were coming back from a job, and incoming rounds were coming in, and they were on the MSR, the main supply route, on the road, and a round came close to him, and he was injured. We had one wireman out of the time I was there, but wasn't exposed to anything close like that.
Well, then you were blessed. I think you might have had a guardian angel or two out there.
Or
You might have had a guardian angel or two watching out for you.
yeah, it was oh, I don't know how to say it. Uh,
During this time period, you're going out, you're doing these things. How long were you in Korea?
I was there just 1 year.
Just 1 year?
I went on my 18th birthday. I was in a processing center, uh, uh, being processed in my transfer, and that was in Korea. And like when I was coming out, I had another birth.
Okay.
When I was coming home.
So, of your time in Korea, can you think of any specific stories or experiences that stick out to you? Friends or different funny memories?
Well, the interesting things was that let me tell you one little incident.
Okay.
One incident. In my basic training at Camp
California,
California, one of the fellows that was in my unit, in my patrol for basic training, Emo Sherman from where Joyce. He's from Idaho.
Okay.
A returned missionary. He was drafted, wife and 2 children, but he was drafted. And anyway, we were close friends in basic training. When I was in Korea, in my unit, there was a infantry unit that was coming through our battery area, going back to reserve. And I was standing there watching the vehicles as they were passing. And all of a sudden, one of the Jeeps stopped and says, "Hey, Adams." Well, here was Emo Sherman from my basic training.
Oh, wow.
So just the chance of me being there, and they were coming through.
That's so awesome. I'm glad he was there and he was doing well. Who other people did you make friends with? How did your crew work? Did you work with the same people every time?
Yeah, we did. Well, they brought in what they called Katusas, or Korean soldiers, and put them in with us. I had 3 Koreans on my wire crew with me, and it was a very positive experience. Kim Jong Moon, Jung Jin Kook, and Kim Jong Ho. I remember the names. We had a good relationship.
I'm so glad.
And it was tough till they learned English, and we could communicate. We had enough time together. It was a good experience.
How did you teach them English?
How did they? I didn't have to. I guess they just knew they had to, and
They just did it on their own.
And anyway, and I can't remember any. We tried to learn a little Korean from them. We learned a few words. It would have been fun to know, communicate with them, but we were busy enough. But that was a good experience to have them with us.
Were you able to stay in contact with them afterwards?
I got a letter. I feel bad that I didn't. When I came home, I got married, and I sent I sent a notice of our marriage back to my unit, and I got a letter back from one of those Koreans.
Oh, that's good.
And I often thought it would have been if I could have been in communication with him. Should have done.
Well, who knows? Maybe with this interview, we can find someone from their family and find out what happened to them. That would be really cool. I would love it if that
Yeah, that would be
you
nice
could find that
and
out.
exciting. When the war ended, the date, the war was to end at 11 o'clock on the night of that.
Yeah.
And I opted they were going to take a truckload of guys back to our service battery to a movie.
hmm
And so I piled in the trucks with these guys and went back. While we were back there, about 9, 10 o'clock, everything broke loose.
Oh.
The Koreans were
hmm
sending everything back onto us, and our guns were firing up until 11 o'clock. Then it shut down.
Oh my!
Well,
I remember hearing about that.
The rounds they got enough shells, but all of the communication lines that were coming through our area were shreds.
Oh my goodness!
They were shreds.
So you had a lot of work to do the next day.
We had to do all the cleanup, and the nastiest thing was Commander wanted us to salvage all that communication wire and put it to use.
Are you kidding me? It's probably shreds. Like you said, it was consumption.
It's in the shower. When we didn't have anything else to do, we were pulling out that wire.
Oh, good old archaic work.
As a crew chief, we were getting ready to go out. This was after this armistice. I pulled our truck up to that pile of wire, and we'd hauled a couple of loads of it out to dump it.
Oh, good.
The only trouble was we got caught.
Oh, dang it.
The battery commander says, "What are you doing?" I says, "We're taking some wire out to cover the line with." And he, of course, he called me on it.
Oh, of course.
Anyway, we thought we could get rid of that wire and see after you use our spare time salvaging all that wire.
Oh man.
We did build a shower out of a rock. They built a rock shower in the side of the hill with a 50-gallon barrel, big heater in it, and they plumbed it so we could take a shower there. But they couldn't. So once a week, we'd have a truck would come through, and we could load in, and they would take us back to a shower point where we could take a good shower.
Oh yeah.
That was a good benefit that we had, that we could. They'd take a load once a week, that we could go back to that.
And then were you guys able to get laundry done, or how did you get?
Well, we didn't do any laundry. We had to keep our uniform, but we got towels and all of the comforts of a good hot shower. They'd have it set up in a big tent. It was a good friendship benefit.
As you were transitioning to being a civilian as a veteran, was there anything you struggled with, or any advice you'd like to give? Because we have a lot of soldiers who are transitioning now into normal life because we're not in an active combat situation. Could you give them any pointers on how you felt like you were able to do it and do it well?
Well, I had family, and that was my. I had a wife and a child, and I needed to provide for them.
So having a purpose.
And so my military skills wasn't going to be of any value to me. So with the GI Bill, I went to trade school. I went to school and started my training in my electronics field. The only advice I've got is be active with family, because I had other family around. be active, involved with family, with church, uh, with getting an education, planning on being able to do something for a living. I've always been very proud that I was able to, at the time, it was an adventure for me as a youth, but I'm grateful that I can say that I served in the military. It was a very worthwhile experience in maturing me, number one, and feeling patriotic. I feel more patriotic about now than I did then.
I am sincerely grateful for Lou K. Adams and his wife for inviting me into their home and allowing me to record his story. I apologize that the audio recording of the interview was not quite up to the standards I typically have. We tried a new setup, it didn't work. We won't be using it again. We will keep improving, and I will work on improving the audio quality of that recording for the family, especially because that's really what matters most to me, is making sure that these stories are recorded for their family members and for posterity in general. Every single veteran's story is important, and I want to be able to do the best I can as I continue this journey of preserving these stories. I hope to be able to get better equipment and skills and be able to just continue progressing and improving in the quality I'm able to deliver. So, thank you to everybody who has trusted me with their stories, to all of the amazing veterans who I've had the pleasure to meet and to get to know. I am so grateful for you and for the service that you have done and provided for our country and defending our freedoms. Please, if you know any veterans that you think would be interested in having their story preserved for their family or just for posterity, I'd love to help out with that. Also, it's it's Veterans Day coming up. Let's celebrate our veterans. Tell them thank you. Get involved. I've got a lot of stuff this month of November coming out to highlight veterans, what they're doing now that they're out of the service, how they feel about Veterans Day, just different aspects. I hope you enjoy that. I'm looking forward to sharing all of that with you. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, click it, stick it to the algorithm, comment down below. What do you do for Veterans Day? Who are some veterans you know that you are proud of? Share their stories in the comments. I want to hear it. Please, let's get a conversation going and let's be the good that we want to see in the world. And as always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife.
Spouses and veterans, hearts that won't quit, telling the truth about all of it. This life we live is hard and real, giving a voice to the lives that we live. But this life we live is warm but strong, and every story deserves its song.